from a former Seinfeld star screaming racial slurs at a hostile crowd
50 years ago, you had you upside down with a fork up.
to Will Smith walking onto the Oscars stage and assaulting Chris Rock in front of an audience of 1 billion people.
Oh, wow. Wow. Will Smith just smacked the out of me.
Here are 8 times comedians took the joke too far, starting with the most infamous televised stand-up meltdown in American history, captured on a cell phone in the back of a Hollywood comedy club. November 17, 2006, Hollywood's Laugh Factory. Michael Richards, the actor who played Kramer on Seinfeld, is trying to revive his stand-up career. He has not been on television in 7 years. He walks on stage to a small audience. Within 10 minutes, a black audience member heckles him for not being funny, and Richards completely loses his mind. An audience member is filming on a Sprint flip phone.
The comedian made racial comments. TMZ.com caught Richards' Friday night show on tape. Mind you, the language may be disturbing.
The first line Richards yells references lynching.
50 years ago, you had you upside down with a fork up.
A direct reference to the Jim Crow South, said to a black audience member who had paid to see Seinfeld's Kramer do stand-up. Then it escalated. Audience members started walking out. Richards followed them with the slur repeatedly into the microphone.
You can talk, you can talk, you can talk your brain now, rolls out. He's on.
Oh my God.
Then he watched the audience leave and kept going.
See? It shocks you to see what's buried beneath your stupid mother.
The cell phone footage was sold to TMZ within 72 hours. The site put it online on November 20th, 2006. By that evening, every network in America was covering it. Jerry Seinfeld personally arranged for Richards to apologize via satellite on The Late Show with David Letterman that same night. The studio audience nervously laughed during the apology. Seinfeld had to step in.
Wait a minute, where's he going? Call him in, cracker ass, nigga! Oh, you threatening me?
Within months, Michael Richards had retired from stand-up comedy. Permanently, the Laugh Factory's owner banned him for life. And nearly 20 years later, in a 2024 interview about his memoir, Richards would say he had effectively chosen to cancel himself. March 27, 2022, the 94th Academy Awards. Chris Rock is on stage to present Best Documentary Feature. He spots Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith in the front row, and he throws out a one-line ad-lib about Jada's shaved head, a hairstyle she had to adopt because of alopecia, an autoimmune condition that causes hair loss.
You know who's got the hardest job tonight? Javier Bardem and his wife are both nominated. Now, if she loses, he can't win.
Then the joke itself.
He is praying that Will Smith wins. Like, please, Lord. Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right?
Comparing a woman with alopecia to a shaved head action movie character, the audience laughed. Pinkett Smith rolled her eyes. Will Smith laughed for about 3 seconds. Then he stood up. He walked across the stage, and he hit Chris Rock in the face in front of a live global audience of approximately 1 billion people.
Oh, wow. Wow. Will Smith just smacked out of me.
Rock stood there in shock. Smith walked back to his seat. Then, on a live microphone heard around the world, Smith screamed the line that would define his career.
Wow, dude.
Yes.
It was a G.I. Jane joke.
Keep my wife's name out your mouth!
I'm going to, okay?
He said it twice. Will Smith, an Academy Award nominee that very night, screamed an F-word twice on live ABC. 40 minutes later, he won Best Actor. He gave an emotional, partial apology in his speech that did not mention Chris Rock by name. The Academy banned him from all of its events for the next 10 years. And the moment became the defining cultural reference point of the entire year.
Okay. That was Greatest night in the history of television. Okay.
8 months later, Will Smith would sit down with Trevor Noah on The Daily Show and openly call the moment horrific. Chris Rock would address it for the first time the following March in a live Netflix special called Selective Outrage. The most viral comedy joke of the decade was the one that ended in an assault. September 29, 2001, 18 days after the World Trade Center attacks. The Friars Club is roasting Hugh Hefner at the 21 Club in New York City. Jimmy Kimmel is hosting. The room is full of comedians who, almost to a person, do not want to be here. The country is still in shock, and Gilbert Gottfried, one of the most fearless dirty joke comedians alive, gets up to do his set.
So the whole world was in shock, New York especially. And so we decided to go ahead and do this anyway.
Gilbert later said the room was so tense you could feel it. He decided the only way through the tension was to address it head on, with the worst possible joke he could think of.
The audience was very tense. I mean, basically, you could feel the tension in the room that you could cut through with a knife. And
so Gilbert told the joke.
I have to catch a flight to California. I can't get a direct flight.
18 days after planes flew into buildings, Gilbert Gottfried was on a stage in Manhattan telling an audience full of New Yorkers about how his flight to LA needed an extra stop.
They said they have to stop at the Empire State Building first.
The room went silent. Then they booed. Then someone in the audience shouted the phrase that would enter the comedy lexicon forever.
And one guy yelled out, "Too soon," which I thought meant I didn't take a long enough pause between the...
Too soon. Two words that have followed every off-color comedian since. Gilbert, standing in front of the most hostile room of his entire career, made a snap decision. If the room had already turned, the only way back was to go further. He launched into the dirtiest joke in stand-up history, a joke about a family circus act called The Aristocrats.
I'm standing up there after this joke for what feels like 200 years. I lost that much.
The Aristocrats joke is the most graphic, most extreme, most legendary inside joke comedians tell each other. It involves bestiality and every other taboo the writer can think of. Gilbert told it. The room exploded.
And the audience starts laughing. They're like laughing hysterically. People are laughing, pounding on the table.
A newspaper critic later wrote that Gilbert had performed a mass tracheotomy on the entire room. He had opened the airway of comedy after 9/11 with the worst possible joke and the second worst possible joke. Comedy Central later edited both jokes out of the broadcast. The 9/11 joke survives because it was used in the 2005 documentary The Aristocrats, and Gilbert summed up the lesson with a single sentence.
Prove that a terrorist attack, bad taste, and bestiality, good taste.
October 2014, the Trocadero in Philadelphia, Hannibal Buress, a comedian best known at the time for being a writer on 30 Rock, is doing his regular stand-up set. In the middle of riffing about Bill Cosby's moralizing public persona, he says one sentence on stage that within 72 hours will be on every news channel in America.
Has the fuckest old black man public persona that I hate.
This kid's on TV. Pull your pants up, black people. I was on TV in the 80s.
He continues. The crowd is laughing along with the impression. They have no idea where this bit is going.
I can talk down to you because I had a successful sitcom.
Yeah, it was great.
Then Buress drops the line that will become a turning point in American culture.
Yeah, it was great women, Bill Cosby, so kind of brings it down a couple notches.
I don't curse on stage.
But yeah, you so...
Bill Cosby, the most beloved black sitcom dad in television history, the man worth $500 million who lectured America about its morals, was a racist, said on stage in Philadelphia by a relatively unknown stand-up comic to an audience of about 100 people, and Buress doubled down on it.
For the most part, it's public Teflon image. I've done this bit on stage, and people don't believe. People think I'm making it up.
He told the audience to Google it.
Trust me, when you leave here, Google Bill Cosby rape. It's not funny. More results than...
A Philadelphia Magazine reporter named Dan McQuaid was in the audience that night. He filmed the bit on his phone. He posted the clip the next day. Within 72 hours, every major American news network was running the story. Within 6 months, more than 40 women had publicly come forward to accuse Bill Cosby of assault. Eventually, that number would climb to over 60. Cosby would be charged in 2015. He would be convicted in 2018. The conviction would be overturned in 2021, and the entire chain reaction began with one sentence in a Philadelphia comedy club from a comedian most of America had never heard of. October 18th, 2008, BBC Radio 2. Russell Brand is recording his weekly Saturday night show. His guest co-host is Jonathan Ross, the highest paid presenter on the entire BBC. The two of them attempt to call Andrew Sachs, the 78-year-old actor who played Manuel in Fawlty Towers, for a comedy interview. Sachs does not pick up, so they start leaving voicemails. Drunk on a national broadcast, and Jonathan Ross, the highest paid man on BBC payroll, blurts out the line that detonates the entire scandal.
I don't blame
Andrew
you.
Sachs's. Right. Oh no. What, this is Andrew Sachs's answer phone? Right, Jonathan. Well, this is unconventional.
The first message ends. Then Jonathan Ross, on a live BBC radio recording, screams a sentence into the answering machine of a 78-year-old man about his granddaughter.
So
By the phone.
while he's listening to the message, he's looking at a picture of when she was about
there
9
she
on a
is.
swing, and then
She's
you,
9
and then
on
you're
a
on the
swing.
phone going,
She was on a swing when I'm...
Then it got worse. They called back. They left another message. They thought they were making it better.
Let's ring back Andrew Sachs.
Yes.
We'll right, there's Andrew Sachs's phone. Oh, I hope he... What if he answers this time?
You're on your own.
What followed was a fake apology, an even worse joke, and a panicked attempt by Brand to walk back what Ross had just said, live on the BBC.
I'm so sorry about the last message. It was part of the radio show. It was a mistake.
Just a joke. If there is any truth in that.
The show aired the following Saturday. It went out to BBC Radio 2's national audience, and nothing happened. For an entire week, the complaints did not start until a Sunday tabloid picked up the story 8 days later. Then everything exploded.
Jonathan, I think we've made the situation worse.
I think, who would have thought two people like us could possibly have made the situation worse?
By the end of the following week, the BBC had received over 42,000 complaints. The regulator Ofcom received another 1,900. Russell Brand resigned from the BBC. The Radio 2 controller Leslie Douglas resigned. Jonathan Ross was suspended without pay for 12 weeks. Ofcom fined the BBC £150,000. 80,000 of it was for the unwarranted privacy violation against Andrew Sachs. The remaining 70,000 was for failing to meet what the British regulator called generally accepted standards. Saxgate, as it was eventually named, remains the most complained about broadcast in British radio history. July 11th, 2001. Late night with Conan O'Brien. Sarah Silverman walks out for her first sit-down interview on the show. She is promoting a one-woman show. She is telling a story about getting a jury duty notice. She gets to the punchline, and she uses, uncensored on NBC, a slur for Asian Americans.
Jury duty notice, and you have to fill it out and send it in, and they select you randomly.
She sets up the bit, her friend's advice, the hate version, the love version.
Well, why don't you write something really inappropriate on the form, like I hate chinks? And
Then she explained the twist. The slur she used, uncensored, on NBC.
But it sounds crazy, but people sometimes do that just so that they can't be on a jury.
Nice point.
Thank you.
That was sharp. So, I'm thinking to myself,
Trying to help you out here, pal.
I know, you are. And, I wanted to do it, but then I'm like, I don't want people to think I'm racist or something.
So she came up with a version she thought was funnier.
Jury duty. So I just filled out the form, and I wrote, I love chinks.
And the studio audience laughed loudly, and the segment kept going. The slur ran on national television without a bleep. The Asian American civil rights activist Guy Aoki, head of an advocacy group called MANA, saw the broadcast. He wrote NBC. He demanded an apology. NBC apologized. Conan O'Brien apologized. Sarah Silverman did not. The feud spilled onto Bill Maher's ABC show Politically Incorrect, where Aoki and Silverman appeared in person to argue about it. Silverman has spent the next 20-plus years revisiting and recontextualizing the joke. The slur itself, she would later say, was the actual point of the bit. The irony was that the love version made it worse. Whether the audience understood that nuance in real time on live television in 2001, Guy Aoki argued they did not.
And who doesn't?
Yeah.
Really?
So you're not going to be on that jury anytime soon. That's very nice. And what about...
The joke was either ahead of its time or completely indefensible. 24 years later, the comedy community is still arguing about which. December 25th, 2021, Christmas Day. Netflix releases a new Jimmy Carr stand-up special called His Dark Material. Carr opens one section of the special with an onstage warning. He tells the audience the next bit could end his career. Then he tells the audience he believes the joke that follows is, quote,
right, this should be a career ender. Okay, strap in everyone, you ready?
Then he tells the joke. about the Holocaust.
About the Holocaust. When people talk about the Holocaust, they talk about the tragedy and horror of 6 million Jewish lives being lost to the Nazi war machine.
Then the punchline, about the genocide of the Roma and Sinti people, between 200 and 500,000 of whom were killed in the Holocaust.
Nazi war machine. But they never mention the thousands of gypsies that were killed by the Nazis. No one ever wants to talk about.
Then, the kill line, the one that Carr himself on stage had warned was a career ender.
No one ever wants to talk about the positives.
He framed the murder of an entire ethnic group as a positive. Then, in real time, Jimmy Carr argued with the camera about why it was a great joke.
That's a very good joke for the following 3 reasons. Firstly, well done, mate. Secondly, edgy. Edgy is...
The special aired. Nothing happened for 6 weeks. Then, in February 2022, the joke went viral. The Auschwitz Memorial publicly addressed Carr on social media, asking him to learn about the 23,000 Roma and Sinti people who were deported to Auschwitz. The CEO of the Holocaust Memorial Day Trust said she was horrified that gales of laughter followed the joke. UK members of parliament condemned it. The Traveler movement petitioned Netflix to remove the special. Netflix kept the special up. Carr did not apologize. Years later, on the Louis Theroux podcast, Carr would argue that the bit had been clipped out of context. The audience laughter, though, was not clipped. That part was in context, and it played on Netflix to roughly 200 million subscribers worldwide. December 7th, 2010, Channel 4 in the United Kingdom. Scottish comedian Frankie Boyle is launching his new sketch show, Tramadol Nights. Frankie Boyle has built his entire career on saying the things no one else will say, and on the very first season, he tells a joke about an 8-year-old disabled child named Harvey Price, the son of the British media personality Katie Price. A child who is blind, has autism, and a rare genetic disorder called septo-optic dysplasia.
Peter and Andre are fighting each other over custody of Harvey. Well, eventually one of them will lose.
That's the setup. The custody battle between Katie Price and her ex-husband Peter Andre. Then, the punchline, the single joke that defined Frankie Boyle's entire career.
You have to keep him. I have a theory that Jordan married a cage fighter because she needed someone strong enough to stop Harvey from her.
He suggests Katie Price married a professional fighter for a specific reason. About her own son, a blind, autistic 8-year-old. The joke, which I am not going to read in its entirety on this video, is about whether the cage fighter was strong enough to physically restrain Harvey assaulting his own mother, about a child with multiple disabilities who never asked to be on television. The UK regulator Ofcom launched an investigation. They received 500 formal complaints. In April 2011, they upheld every single one of them. Their ruling, on the public record, stated that the material appeared to directly target and mock the mental and physical disabilities of a known 8-year-old child who had not himself chosen to be in the public eye. MenCap, the UK's largest disability advocacy group, called the joke disgusting. Channel 4 edited the joke out of the DVD release. Katie Price publicly demanded an apology. Frankie Boyle responded by mocking her at a charity gig in Glasgow 3 months later. He did not apologize. He has never apologized. Years later, his former Channel 4 boss would publicly admit that Boyle himself eventually conceded the joke had, in Boyle's own private words, slightly ruined his career.